Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the next episode of the Frisco Report. We're live. Have my co-host here, Mike, with us. Let's go ahead and connect him here to the podcast. Hey, Mike, how's it going, man?
Hey, how are you, man? Man, I'm ready to jump into these NFC East grades, brother.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about, everybody. Thanks for everybody that's hopping in here on the chat room on the live podcast. So basically, we're going to go over this is what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about the NFC East grade. That includes the Cowboys. We'll hit that first, and then we'll get to the other teams in the NFC East. We'll also discuss the potential of more players entering the supplemental draft this year. Could be an interesting supplemental draft. Usually takes place in June. All right. And then we'll close it out, to predict what the NFL has planned for the regular season schedule. This should be coming out here in a few days, within a week or so. So without further ado, Mike, let's get into these grades. The NFC East. All right. Let's go ahead and start it off with the Cowboys, Mike. Give me your grades here on the Cowboys. Who did you like? Who's your hidden gem? That kind of thing. Just go ahead and elaborate on that for us.
Absolutely. I've given the Dallas Cowboys an A+, Joe, simply for they took care of things on defense, right? They went out of their element. They didn't get a need in the first round. They got a want. And Mike McCarthy wanted CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. My sneak peek gem is going to be Bradley Anae out of Utah, Joe. We got him in the 6th round, 179th overall. This right here was a steal. This guy should have been in the 4th round. At least the 4th round. Dallas Cowboys got him in the 5th, 179 overall. Bradley Anae is my sleeper, and he's going to make some noise this offseason.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. So for me, Cowboys, I love what they did in the draft. They let a lot of these players fall to them. They really trusted their board. We talked about this leading up to the draft, that they were really going to lean on their scouts. NFL Network, Daniel Jeremiah, they're saying the same thing, that this was a scouts draft. I totally agree. It's something we had talked about. And it was. They let all indications were that the Cowboys were going to take K'Lavon Chase on. But with CeeDee Lamb dropping as each pick went by, we had to pull the trigger here on CeeDee Lamb. He was number 1 rated wide receiver. The Cowboys had him number 6 on their board overall. So just that alone, gives you a big time grade in this. My gem for this draft is going to be Ben DiNucci, the quarterback out of James Madison, 6'3", 210. Very athletic, very underrated. There's some ties there with Mike McCarthy. He's going to bring him under his wing, develop him. We do have the extended rosters now and that sort of thing. So that's going to be a good deal there for us. I do like the Bradley Anae. I think that's a good one. I had him mocked in the 3rd and 4th round as well in some of my mocks. So for him to fall there to the very last pick of the 5th round and we snatch him up, what a steal. All right. So for me, I give the Cowboys an A+, Mike.
We're on the same page.
All right, moving right along to the next team. Let's go ahead and talk about the Eagles draft. All right. What's your take on the Eagles draft? Did they do anything that intimidates you? Anything that stood out? Anything that goofed up? Or did they do anything really good? What's your take on the Eagles draft, Mike?
Overall, I got to give the Eagles a C. Let's be honest. They go out. They fumbled on CeeDee Lamb. Thank God, right? Thank goodness they did that. And then they got Jalen Reagor, wide receiver at TCU. He's not going to be as flashy as CeeDee Lamb. I just don't know about that pick. And then they turn around in the 2nd round, Joe. They draft Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Oklahoma. Now remember, this guy did play for Nick Saban once upon a time there in Alabama. It didn't work out. Tua kind of stole that position. Hurts got hurt. Tua took it over. He transferred out of there, went to Oklahoma. He has the potential, but can Jalen Hurts stay healthy, Joe? That is the biggest concern with Jalen Hurts. But other than that, I'm looking at their whole draft here. I like Jack Briscoe coming out, the offensive tackle out of Auburn. They got 145. in the 4th round. But other than that, there's nothing that sticks out to me like flashy. And Dalvin Taylor, the linebacker out of Colorado, I did like him too. But overall, just the entire draft versus what they needed and how they drafted, Joe, I got to give the Eagles a C.
Yeah, that's a good take. For me, Mike, the Jalen Reagor pick I think was a reach. Getting him there at 21. I think we ruined their party. I think they were probably hoping that CD was going to fall to them, that we would pass him, but we didn't. So they went with Jalen Reagor, and I felt like he was like a 3rd round, 2nd rounder at the very early. They pulled the trigger and got him there in the 1st round. So that one was kind of a bit of a head scratcher for me. Jalen Hurts, obviously they're protecting themselves from Carson Wentz. They know that he's going to miss time. He's got that reputation now where he is going to miss time. He's kind of like Sean Lee with the Cowboys. You know that he's going to play, but he will get hurt at some point in the season, right? So that's how they view Carson Wentz. He's like a Sam Bradford type, thin-bodied on the below the waist, gets injured, that kind of thing. I do like the linebacker they took, Davian Taylor, in the 3rd round. That was a good pick by them. And John Hightower, the wide receiver out of Boise State. I think that's a good one in the 5th round. Not bad. Quez Watkins, these are just flyer receivers they took on the fly. He's got a lot of speed. And Prince Tega out of Auburn. He was actually rated a lot higher than where he went, so maybe they got a steal on him, but that's to be determined. But overall, I'm giving the Eagles a C as well. Just a flat C. I felt like they kind of reached on Reagor. Jalen Hurts was kind of a questionable pick. My favorite pick from them, honestly, is probably Jalen Hurts. On the 2nd round quarterback. I think he can eventually replace Carson Wentz. I think that might be their game plan there. But then the Eagles are in trouble, man. They barely got into the playoffs. If it wasn't for a lot of the other teams in the NFC East bumbling it up at the end, they probably wouldn't have got in there.
Exactly.
Are they not buying into the program anymore, Peterson? That happens. They did get to the Super Bowl. They did win it. And then you have that hangover, and I think it's just kind of snowballing at this point. So I think they're a little bit of a trouble there. I'm not scared by them at all. So I'll give them a C. Moving on to the next team, let's go ahead and take a look at the New York Giants, Mike. Let's talk about the New York Giants. What's your take on the New York Giants draft in the NFC East?
They actually had one of the better drafts besides the Cowboys out of the entire NFC East. And it almost felt like Jason Garrett's handprint was in these draft picks. Overall, I get the Giants a B plus. Overall, a B plus for the Giants. They took my guy in the 2nd round, Xavier McKinney. That was my pet cat, along as with AJ Terrell too, who the Falcons took at 16 overall. They took care of their offensive line. They're giving Jones, their quarterback, a big, nice offensive tackle out of Georgia, and Andrew Thomas, 4th overall. They got Xavier McKinney. They went offensive tackle again in the 3rd round. I mean, they were really trying to give Daniel Jones some protection, and that's how you address it, Joe, by drafting that protection. Don't go out in free agency and go sign stuff. The New York Giants have really took care of their offensive line and took care of their back end of the defense in Xavier McKinney, who I was really high on. But, I mean, they really dominated the first 3 picks in this draft.
Yeah. So overall, I think they had a good draft. I'm giving them a B, a flat B, just to get out the gate. Andrew Thomas, I like him. I don't think he's as dominant as 4th overall pick. You would pick. I think I would have gone with Wirfs there myself, but Andrew Thomas. My favorite pick from them is Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. They got him in the 2nd round. I thought that was a heck of a pick for them. Darnay Holmes, he's pretty good cornerback. Shane Lemieux, I know Nate Newton was high on him for the guard position. And, Matt Pert. So they're really trying to you can kind of feel like there's a little bit of the Jason Garrett influence in this because they went offensive line quite often and early. They got the tackle in the 1st. They got the other tackle here in the 3rd with Matt Pert. And then they got Shane Lemieux, the guard/center. So and then they already have Hernandez in there and a couple other guys. So they're rebuilding that offensive line, trying to get. I think they want to set the tone with the running game and give Daniel Jones some protection. So good draft by them, but I think they could have done better with the first pick with Andrew Thomas. Who else? Carter Coughlin, I think, is a low-key steal for them. The edge out of Minnesota, linebacker, but he can play edge. I think that was a good one there. But overall, for me, Mike, a B for the Giants.
B. If you ain't being, you're seeing.
All right, man.
The Washington Redskins.
So, let's get to the Washington Redskins. Go ahead and give me your grade here for the Redskins, Mike.
I got to go B- because they had that one splashy pick at Chase Young at Ohio State. And then after that, Antonio Gibson, wide receiver, running back, Memphis. Oh, that's almost a Tony Pollard clone, so to speak. Dare I say that at 66 overall? And then after that, they're like, all right, we got our number 2 overall pick, Chase Young. Then let's go get this Tony Pollard clone and let's go see what we can do. So I'm going to give them a B-. Overall, they did have some good drafts. Antonio Golden, the wide receiver out of Liberty, I liked him coming out of this draft, Joe. But, besides those 3 picks, out of all the picks they had, that's what I'm sticking with is a B-.
All right. For the Redskins, I'm going to give them a B right out the gate. The Chase Young, it's going to be determined for me. He skipped everything, He skipped everything. He skipped the combine. A lot of these guys are skipping the combines and these kind of things to protect themselves. But, obviously they didn't have the pro day because of the pandemic and that sort of thing. But I want to say Ohio State did have theirs before they were able to shut things down, and he didn't participate, if I remember correctly. But my question on Chase Young is he going to be able to handle the hard coaching of Ron Rivera? Okay, so we know that he's projected to be the baddest defensive end coming out of the draft and this and that. Is he going to be a Jadeveon Clowney type of guy, or is he going to be a J.J. Watt type of player? There's 2 different guys. You got Jadeveon Clowney, the effort, doesn't take the coaching, sick a lot, doesn't play that much. Okay, J.J. Watt, you get him on the field and he's going to give you everything you got. So for me, Chase Young, I think you're going to get either or. Okay, you're going to either get the Jadeveon Clowney type player or you're going to get the J.J. Watt. I don't think there's a middle ground with that one. So we'll see on that one. Sadiq Charles, I think that was a pretty good pick for them in the offensive tackle. Obviously, they shipped away Trent. They shipped him out to the 49ers. So they're going to hope that Sadiq Charles can fill that void. That's a tall order, And Antonio Gandy, I thought that was a good little sneaky little receiver there. Might be able to help out Dwayne Haskins. So I'm giving them a B, but I almost feel like it's more of a C plus. So I'm kind of in between the 2. The other players they drafted, don't do too much for me. I think they're for drafting that high in the draft here. I feel like they could have got better players. The one that really stood out really is a Chase Young, but everybody else where they're drafting, I think they could have got better players, man. So that's what we have for the NFC East, Mike. So good draft by everybody, I think. But the Cowboys, not to be homers or anything, they're head and shoulders above everybody else, So my question is, on paper, Mike, who looks like the team that has a really good chance of taking the NFC East right now? Just what you know on free agency and what these teams did in the draft. What's your gut feeling on who might be 1 and 2 in this division?
I'm gonna be honest with you. You look at last season, and all Cowboys needed was turnovers on defense in a couple of games, and a better kicker, right? And the Dallas Cowboys would have won a lot more football games. They would have had double-digit wins. Dare I say 12 wins this past year. But they held on to Brett Maher too late. Guess what? We got Greg Zuerleiner in now. John the Bone, or the Fossils Bones, favorite kicker, / quarterback because he can do a lot of things when it comes to punting and making field goals and stuff like that, right? So, so the Cowboys took care of that. Now, they did sign Brett Maher back. So, I mean, look at that. There's going to be kicking competition. We won't have this Brett Maher staying on your roster for 18,000 weeks missing field goals, right? So, Cowboys took care of that part. Dallas Cowboys took care of their part of Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson. In-your-face corners, really good man corners. And then they got the big meat in the middle. Cowboys had a hard time stopping the run, right? They took care of the big meat, Gerald McCoy, two Oklahoma Sooners and Gallimore. They got Dontari and Poe here. They kept Antoine Woods, these big bodies, right? So the Dallas Cowboys, they looked at what they need to do to improve. How can we win those close games? You fix your kicker. You get your corners to turn their head to get picks. Diggs and Robinson is those type of guys to do it. You keep Anthony Brown, and you got a dog and Jordan Lewis on your defense. I think the Dallas Cowboys are, again, 12-plus game wins for the NFC East, and I do say they go to the playoffs. My second team to go, I'm going to go with the sleeper. I'm going to go with the Redskins. Ron Rivera, he's been to a Super Bowl before. He knows what it takes. I think he got some good pieces in the offseason and during this draft. I think Cowboys are going to be first, Redskins second, Giants third, and the Eagles are going to be in the basement.
Yeah. So how I see this, Mike, too, is and then not to be homers. I know that we're picking the team that we follow here, and that's what the podcast is. But the expectations were high for the Cowboys last season. Jason Garrett just flopped majorly. It was a lame duck season. I feel really good about acquiring and signing Mike McCarthy to be our head coach. He knows what it takes to get to, your team in the win column and how to win in the playoffs, not just lose and choke it up. So I like that right out the gate. And, they did some shrewd moves in free agency, but some that are really going to pay off, I think. The McCoy and Dontari Poe, I think, are really good in the middle. And, you got young defensive tackles there with Tristan Hill and Neville Gallimore. So Gallimore really helped out Kenneth Murray's linebacking there at Oklahoma. He was sideline to sideline. He never got washed out by the offensive guards or centers or these types of players. They couldn't get to the second level. So what fans of the Cowboys are really going to love about the Gallimore pick is that these linebackers are going to be able to roam all over the place and be the playmakers that they were the year before. Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, these guys tackling machines, making plays all over the place. So I love that. And then the offense of the Cowboys, they got it supercharged. We're talking about, do you want to get the defensive player or do you want to do the 40 burger? So team 40 burgers in full effect. Pick your poison. Amari Cooper, Lamb, Michael Gallup, and, of course, you got your playmakers in Zeke and Dak Prescott. So I really like the Cowboys to take the NFC East this year. And for the second team, I'm going to go with the New York Giants. I think the Giants have done a lot to improve the team here in the last couple of weeks with free agency and in the draft. I think they had an okay draft there. And, they're going to have a different philosophy there, a different style of football. Joe Judge and these guys, I think they're going to turn around. And I like the quarterback they have there. I think they're going to get good play out of him, and then you get Saquon Barkley running all over the place. So I feel good that they're going to be there. Number 2. Number 3, I have the Redskins. I just don't think that they have the quarterback position locked in there. I know that Rivera picked up the quarterback from the Panthers, but then you got Dwayne Haskins. Is that going to be a quarterback controversy? Does your young defense, take to the coaching of a hard-nosed Ron Rivera? We already saw them get rid of some of the players there that don't fit in. So he's not messing around there, but I don't think they're quite there. And the Eagles, I have them in the gutter. I think that, we just saw, hints of cracks in the foundation last season. It was just a bad division. They were able to win it by default, basically. But I think the party's over there in Philly. They got Hurts. Quarterback controversy is already in full effect. They didn't really improve the wide receivers that well. They really don't draft well with the wide receivers. If you notice, the ones that they do draft have been bust a lot of the times. So they usually have to go out in free agency and spend a bunch of money on Alshon Jeffries. They even brought back, the troublemaker, the Deshaun Jackson. They were so desperate. They're not really good at the wide receiver position. So I think they're going to be there at the bottom, man. To be honest,
I
love
agree.
it. I love it.
I would trust me. I love it too, because the more they're at the bottom, the more my comment section on YouTube stays clear and free of Eagle fans.
I hear you on that one. I hear you on that. All right, Mike. So moving on to the supplemental draft that comes up here every June. Usually, there's not many players that that garner any kind of traction as far as using high picks on players and that kind of thing. But with the virus still hanging around and everything, there's a possibility that there could be some surprise players in the supplemental draft. All right. There's some players that are currently contemplating whether or not they want to go into the supplemental draft in case there isn't a college football season. That they don't have that much tape on them. So, what's your take on the Cowboys possibly, putting their toes in the supplemental draft if there's some players there?
Hey, the Dallas Cowboys always preach what, Joe? Player acquisition is 365 days a year. So if they really feel that there's a player on there that can go, then, go get them. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they will. I think if there's the right player comes into this draft, supplemental draft, I think it'll be it could be wide open for the NFL. It could be a lot of players actually. It could be another NFL draft, mini NFL draft. You could say that because colleges aren't sure that they're going to reopen. If they don't reopen, there's not going to be college football. And it's possible that they could have a shortened season. So it's going to be another scouts draft for 2021 again. Either way you cut it, okay? So we'll see what happens here. It is still a couple months away. Maybe things do clear up and maybe there's a better treatment for this virus and we can get everything going as far as sports and college football. All right, Mike. So let's close it out by predicting what does the commissioner and the 32 teams in the NFL have up their sleeve as far as the schedule. Roger Goodell has come out and said that for all intents and purposes they're going to have a regular season. No, he didn't exactly say it was going to be 16 or 17 weeks of it or whatever. And they're even talking about moving up the Super Bowl or moving it back to I think late February or something like that. So I wonder if the season is going to start later. What's your gut feeling on what is going to happen here with the schedule, the regular season schedule, Mike?
I'm glad you asked that question, because as a fan of football, I'm sitting back and I'm starting to get invested in the Major League Baseball, and because that's the next season, and I want to know what Major League Baseball does. There's been reports that MLBs are opening facilities for states that are opening their states back up. And if that happens and they can get MLB on track, I see no problem, Joe, with football, the National Football League, being on track. Because if the MLB can do it, I know the NFL can do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're kind of looking at these other what happened to the NBA. I think the NFL does not want that to happen. The NBA, they pretty much got through the whole regular season and the playoffs were about to start, right? So that would be a complete freaking disaster if the NFL were to get to play some games, and then here we are in the wave 2 of COVID or something like that, another outbreak, God forbid, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, but you just never know with this thing. This is the first we've seen of this virus, and everybody's just kind of projecting the virus, what it's going to do. So I'm anticipating that the schedule will come out, but I'm also anticipating that there might be some asterisks around this as far as this is what we're going to do, but if there's some kind of pandemic and we have to go into lockdown mode, we're gonna have to take a couple of weeks off until this thing settles back and then ramp back up. Or do they have a shortened season? Because there's talk about this thing coming back in the winter and that kind of thing. So right in December and November, maybe. Is it going to be a 17-week season? That's really, really what I'm interested to see what these guys have planned, and how these teams are going to protect the players and coaches and everybody from not getting infected. Because we saw that in the NBA, one player got sick. This thing is super contagious. It knocked out the whole team, and then it was just a domino effect for the NBA. So what is the plan? Are they going to sequester players, staff at a centralized location, or what? I'm very, very interested to see what comes of this. I'm pretty sure news is going to start to trickle out here in the coming days, Mike.
Yeah, it's crazy that you say centralize the players and coaches. That means for the entire football season, they won't be able to see their family except on FaceTime. And yeah. I don't know how that's going to go well over with players, because when players get a victory, Tony Romo talked about it in one of the interviews on ESPN's most recent. He goes, "Oh man, after a win, you go home, you turn on the tape, you explain to the family what's going on, why you did this, watch this here later on in the game." So players are going to miss that with their families. So, and then there's a lot of personalities in the locker room. You could have potentially 90-day guys, centralizing yourselves for 4 months straight. That could ruin a locker room, so to speak. So these guys really got to think this through and really put brain to pencil and see what they can come up with.
Good point, Mike. Very good point on that. It's like all of us getting kind of cabin fever, with this. It could very well happen with, with these athletes, whether it's NFL, MLB, because I think MLB is talking about doing something similar to that, like a centralized, I think they even said a centralized stadium. It's very interesting to see how they do this. We know the UFC is going to have a pay-per-view event here in just a few weeks, and I'm wondering, is that going to be an empty stadium? Is it just going to be the fighters in the ring, man, and the judges are going to be there remotely, or or what? So it'll be interesting to see how some of these other sports teams start to handle this. We should be seeing something from the MLB pretty soon. NBA, I think, is chomping at the bit, obviously. And then we'll see what the NFL does.
It's going to be tricky, but they got to do it right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, that was our quick take on the NFC East grades. We went each draft class, each team, kind of gave them a grade, what they did in free agency, and what they did in NFL draft. Just an early take on where we see this division right now. Cowboys, they got the coach now, and we've all been saying that we've been needing that final piece to get us over the hump. Mike McCarthy is that. You come on strong with one heck of a draft to open it up. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better way to start the career here for Mike McCarthy on paper. Okay, so let's tie everything together and get this thing going. Let's steamroll these guys, everybody.
Absolutely, I'm ready.
Mike, let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Dallas Cowboy Football News on YouTube and on Facebook. VCF News 1 on Twitter, guys. Give me a mention. Give me a DM. That's where the conversation starts. Joe, where can they find you?
You guys can find me also on YouTube, and that's Cowboys Blog on YouTube. On Twitter and Instagram, it's Cowboys Blog Net. You can hit me up there. And don't forget to visit the home site for the podcast, and that's www.thefriscoreport.com. And you can also follow our Twitter account at The Frisco Report. All right, guys. So for myself and Mike, we really do appreciate you guys catching the show. We'll catch you for the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.